Trey Galloway for Indiana basketball is by far the most fascinating Hoosier this season.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, and shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that come back each and every day. Audio, video, however you get us, I appreciate you. And a reminder that we are always free and available wherever you get your podcast, Monday through Friday, right here at Locked On Hoosiers. Trey Galloway is the most fascinating player for Indiana basketball this season because of what his role may or may not be. We're going to have that for you today. Also a what if on Trey Galloway, and basically what if he doesn't get back to what we know he can be. We'll have that for you. And based off of the episode we did yesterday with Julian Lewis, the five-star quarterback, there's even more news and insight on him in just 24 hours. So that is what we have for you today. Trey Galloway for Indiana basketball. I feel that there's always been a love-hate relationship with Trey Galloway while he has been here in Bloomington, because we've seen, as you do with players that have played as long as he has, we've seen some really high highs and we've seen some really low lows, right? A couple of years ago, you saw the best season he's ever played, where he was shooting over 40% from three. He had his role on a team that had NBA dudes on it, and he was the best he could be right then and there. That was the best we've ever seen him, or that he's probably ever played in big-time basketball. But then a year ago, right, last year, we saw him really struggle for a lot of the season. Yeah, there were a couple of games, and he was the reason that we almost beat Kansas last year, but down the stretch, and then, of course, he got the injury, and it just wasn't a good year for Trey Galloway last year. And that leads to this season and him being easily the most fascinating player with his role on this team, because the question is, what is his role? There are some people that believe he should still be a starter, that he should still be the starting two guard on this team and bring Cannon Carlisle off the bench. There are others, and this is where I fall, that believe, look, you've been here a long time, but we brought in a young guy in Cannon Carlisle who played Power 5 basketball, now Power 4 basketball. I guess it could still be Power 5, but because I always count the Big East in there. I always called it the Power 6 because of the Big East, but anyway, that's a conversation for a different time. You bring in a Pac-12, RIP, Cannon Carlisle, to be that guy. You go and got him for that reason. And look, I see both sides. I do. I absolutely see, if you want to respect Trey Galloway, respect his experience and what he's done, and allow him to come back and be the starter, and bring the younger guy, Cannon Carlisle, off the bench because you hope that you have him for years to come. Totally understand. Totally get it. But for me, and what I think Mike Woodson is going to do, is start Cannon Carlisle and allow Trey Galloway to kind of sit back and have a lesser role, because look at what happened last year. He had to be the guy last year for a lot of games outside of, Khalil Ware, Malik Renew. He was the guard, right? And he wasn't able to do that. That wasn't the way he played basketball. And it was way too much for him, and it didn't help Indiana win basketball games. And now, especially right now, he's still coming off a knee injury, right? He had a quote on a podcast earlier this week that said, look, it's a long journey. There are days that it's tough. It's feeling really good. And I 100% believe that I'll be back to my normal self if I just keep doing the right things and stuff like that. And he goes on to say, I'm just excited to get back to my normal self because it makes you realize how blessed we really are to be healthy and to be doing the things we get to do, because it's not easy. There's a lot of injuries in basketball that happen. So you just got to be aware of that and know that you can't take it for granted and stuff. And look, I respect that from Trey Galloway. I love hearing that type of stuff. Just understanding, like, look, he's blessed to do what he does. He plays high-level college basketball. But he is coming off of major knee surgery this summer. And he really didn't practice at all. I mean, he got in, late July, I think? And the question then becomes, okay, is he 100% or will he be 100% by the time November rolls around? He may say he is, but he may or he may not be. And the only way we're going to find out is by seeing him in action, whether that's in practice or whether that's seeing him in those first few games. And so especially with the injury, I believe that he will come off the bench to start the season. And unless Cannon Carlisle gives him a reason, I guess gives Mike Woodson a reason to swap that out, I just don't see it changing. But that's what makes this so intriguing is it could go either way. And you could see, and I would not be against this, in non-conference play, switch them out. Start Carlisle one game, start Galloway the other. Play Carlisle, start him and only play him 10 minutes, but bring Galloway off the bench and play him 30, right? Obviously not at the same time, but just mixing things up and trying out different formations, basically different roles, different combinations of starting fives or different combinations of just five guys on the floor. Could you move Cannon Carlisle up when Miles Rice takes a seat and bring in Trey Galloway, run 2-2s? I don't know. We're going to find out because, unfortunately, I just don't think Ja'Kai Newton is going to be a part of this team as much as we wanted him to be. And just due to injury is the issue there. But then, again, with you guys, there's going to be, with the fan base, there's a large portion that still love Galloway, that still believe he can get back to what he is. But there's a large portion that have kind of moved on, and they're not really worried about what his role is on this team. I'll say this, though. I think he's extremely important. He's very, very important. Trey Galloway is. And if he can come back to what we know he can be and be 2 years ago Trey Galloway, then yeah, this team is going to be really, really nasty and they have a chance to make a run. But then the question becomes, okay, well, what if he doesn't? What if Trey Galloway doesn't get back to the Galloway that we know, that we have seen before, that we all know is in there, coming off of injuries and just getting older and playing a lot of basketball, even with guys in front of him? What if he doesn't get to what we know Trey Galloway can be? We'll talk about that coming up in our next segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, I love sports, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop, and I know you feel the same. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sporting like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it, and hope you're enjoying the content. Reminder, we're here for you Monday through Friday, every day, and we are free each and every day. Video on YouTube or audio on whatever platform you want to get us on. We are free and available to you each and every day. So if you're looking for a free way to support the show on YouTube, like the video, comment down below. Do you believe Trey Galloway is a starter? Do you think he will start on this team, let's say by conference play? Because I think that's where we basically know, all right, this is our starting five moving forward. This is who we're taking into battle. Do you believe Trey Galloway starts by then? Comment down below and let me know. And then while you're at it, hit our show logo and subscribe to our channel. We continue to grow there, and that helps me grow and show the boss lady and boss man, hey, we're doing the right thing. So help us out there. Audio, do the same thing. Follow us there. Turn on notifications. Whatever you got to do to help support us. We really do appreciate that. Well, with Trey Galloway, who is by far the most fascinating player on the team this year in terms of what his role may or may not be, I ask you the question, what if Trey Galloway doesn't get back to what we believe he can be? What if Trey Galloway doesn't get back to the 2022 Trey Galloway, 22-23, a guy that played 28 minutes a game, was averaging 47% from the floor, 46% from three, and while he may not have been scoring a lot, he was a sniper from downtown. Absolute sniper. You needed a bucket, you brought Trey Galloway in, and he knocked it down. But what if he doesn't get back to that? What if we see another version of Trey Galloway like we saw in 21 and 22 or in 23 and 24, where, by the way, he played the most minutes of his entire career. He averaged 33 minutes a game last year, where he averaged 10 points. Yes, he averaged 5 assists almost, which is really good, but 26% from three and 46% from the floor. What if that happens? What if we get back to the 21 where he averaged 5 points a game and shot 21% from three? I worry about that. I do. I absolutely worry about that. And the injury doesn't make me feel any better because it's a knee injury. These are scary, scary injuries. And they're surgeries that, yes, they help you get better and they help fix you. But as a lot of you know in sports, man, knees are something you don't mess with. And they're so easy to re-aggravate and re-injure and do even more damage and even permanent damage too. That's what's so scary a lot of times with these knee injuries. And so it's not crazy to question whether he gets back to that form or not. If he does, okay, if Trey Galloway does get back to shooting 45% from three, and he may not score 12 points a game, but if he knocks him down when we ask him to, yeah, this team's going to be really, really good. Whether that's in a starting role or whether that's coming off the bench. I think it helps us more with that coming off the bench rather than being a starter, because if you have Rice and Carlisle starting 1 and 2, and they give you production, points, assists, and not turning it over, that sort of thing, then you almost bring in your white knight of Trey Galloway, where it's like, all right, well, our starting 5 did well, but here come the backups. Here they come. Here comes Luke Goody. Here comes Trey Galloway. Here comes Langdon Hatton. Here comes some dudes that can still play basketball. Remember last year, my everydayers don't remember these conversations, how I've talked about where you have drop-off, right? From your starting 5 to your other bench players, whether that's 5, 6, however many deep that you can go. You're never going to have your bench be better than your starting 5. They'll have better runs at times, sure. They'll have better stretches, absolutely. But there's a reason you have your starting 5 and you have your bench. But what you're looking for is that drop-off when the starting 5 sits down, or most of them sit down and the bench players come in. You want that to be as minimal as possible. And the problem last year was the drop-off was huge. It was huge. You took out Xavier Johnson when he was healthy, and Gabe Cupps came in. Or Gabe Cupps started a lot, but you know what I'm saying. Khalil Ware was off the floor. We were in trouble. Malik Renew got in foul trouble. We were done. That can't happen this year. It can't. It cannot happen this year. And so a good way to avoid that is to have a guy like Trey Galloway sitting on the bench, ready to go, locked and loaded, feeling good, not having the pressure. I think that's a big part of this, and having him ready to go when you call his name. Because when you look at the seasons and you look at his numbers, yeah, he scored more points last year because he was the only guard on the team. He was the only guard that was worth anything last year when he was healthy. And you look at 22 and 23, you want to know why he shot 46% from three? It's because he didn't have the pressure to be the guy. He had dudes around him that were making plays. He had a team that supported his play style. He can bring it up if he needs to. He can orchestrate the offense if he has to, but that's not his role. That's not his strength. His strength is, let me move without the basketball, set off-ball screens, and get open and knock it down in your face. That's what Trey Galloway does. And what excites me about this season, and again, why I believe his role is just so fascinating and why he's just an intriguing player this year, is because I think this team, this current team, allows him to do that. I think it allows Trey Galloway to be that player, to have that role once again. Because you look at what your starting five, I think, is going to be of Rice, Carlisle, Mbako, Renew, and Ballo. That's it. That's your starting five. Then that's strong. That will flirt with one of the best starting fives in the entire Big 10 conference, Big 18, whatever you want to call it, right? That's going to flirt with being one of the best starting fives in the league. But then you can bring in Trey Galloway, who could be a sixth man of the year type of player. Does that sound familiar? He could be that player this year for us. And wouldn't you want that? Don't you want that opportunity for Trey Galloway? For all of you people and fans, and I'm not hating on you by any means, but for all the fans that want the best for Trey, who has given his life to Indiana basketball, which we all appreciate, don't you want that for him? Wouldn't you want him to have that opportunity to be the best version of him? Because I think that's where he is. I think that's where he is this best in playing his best basketball. Not in control, not in charge, just a role player, but a big role player. And folks, the possibilities of this team, if Galloway gets to back anywhere close to what he can be, he adds numerous wins to this team. Numerous wins on the schedule, non-conference play and in Big Ten play. He could be the reason you win an extra game in a non-conference tournament, right? He could be the reason that you go and win a game on the road. Like, that's how important he is. And so when we ask this question, what if? What if he doesn't get there? Then, okay, well then we move on. Indiana moves on. And hopefully he can ride off into the sunset as a guy that's been honored as a senior, a guy that's been here a long time and will be remembered forever as an Indiana Hoosier. So if he doesn't get there, then Indiana's going to be okay. It would stink. It would hurt. I don't want to watch him struggle again by any means, but Indiana would move on. And you're happy with your starting five. You bring in a couple of other guys off the bench and you see what happens. And then you get another guard or two in the 2025 class. We know Indiana's recruiting them, right? But what if he does? If he gets back to that level of 22 and 23, shooting 45%, Mr. Automatic, and just a heck of a sixth man, the sky's the limit for Indiana. Which is why I think his role is one of the most important this year, and he's just by far, the most fascinating, interesting player on Indiana's team this season. Well, coming up on our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers, we'll flip over to the football side because I did an episode about this guy yesterday, and more news comes out about the five-star quarterback, Julian Lewis. Is this getting real? Is this starting to feel a little exciting to those around Indiana? Well, we'll talk about it coming up on our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Final segment here on the show today. Appreciate you being here. Shout out to all my everydayers once more. You are the best, and I appreciate you. I see you, I hear you, and most importantly, I do appreciate you. And hey, once you're done here, because this is your first listen each and every day, go check out my boy Spencer over at Locked On College Football. He is absolutely crushing it over there. Used to be Locked On Pac-12. Now it's Locked On College Football. As we're just a few weeks away from the start of the football season, he's getting you ready for everything you need to know around the entire country. Indiana, Big Ten, SEC, Pac-2, whatever it is. He's getting you everything you need to know for the college football season. So once you're done here, just search Locked On College Football on audio platforms or right here on YouTube. Well, speaking of football, this is a guy that's not playing college football yet, but he will be very soon. And more people are starting to believe that he may be playing college football at Indiana. Julian Lewis, the 5-star quarterback in the 2025 class, a top 50 player overall in next year's class for high school recruiting and football. He picks up another big-time piece of info. I guess we get another big-time piece of information in terms of Julian Lewis. I did a whole breakdown of this yesterday, so if you missed it, once you're done here, go check out the Locked On Hoosiers episode from yesterday. I started with Julian Lewis conversation, a guy that's taken a couple of visits here, one official, one unofficial. He has a relationship with the quarterback coach, Coach Tino here, and yesterday there was a 247 college football recruiting analyst that says, I would give, and this is the quote, I would give the edge to Indiana for top 24/7 quarterback Julian Lewis. How about that? How about that? People are continuing to say that Julian Lewis has a chance to come to Indiana. Now, it's from Tom Loy, a guy that I respect. I read a lot of his stuff. I follow him a lot on 247. Tom Loy says, I've said it for months and I will repeat myself. I do not expect him sticking with his pledge to the Trojans, that being USC. The teams to watch, Indiana, Colorado, and to a lesser extent, Auburn, who I think is completely out of it by now. He said, now I'm watching Indiana and Colorado. He said that a little while back. He says, now I'm watching Indiana and Colorado. If I had to pick between the two, I would give the edge to Indiana. I think that staff is doing a phenomenal job. We all know the relationship with quarterbacks coach Tino Sunseri, but I think Curt Cignetti is doing a phenomenal job trying to recruit him and treating him like a priority. Isn't this music? Oh, isn't this music to our ears? We're hearing not just a quarterback coach, not just an assistant coach, but the head coach is making a top player a top priority. Isn't that awesome to you? Doesn't that just get you excited for what this staff has a chance to do here? Like, it's just refreshing, man. It's just so awesome to hear that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Are we going to land him? I have no idea. I feel pretty good about it, about Julian Lewis. Absolutely. And I told you that yesterday. But the fact is, you have people that know a lot more than me and are a lot smarter than I am saying that Indiana's the team to beat right now. And I've said it for a while that Lewis was never going to end up at USC. He's been shopping the market for a year since he's been committed. Like, he's not going to go to USC. And Auburn, I think, is out of it. And with all the things happening at Colorado right now, is that really a place that you want to be? Really? I mean, Deion's too worried about fighting reporters right now and typing out social media handles to put on the back of their practice jerseys. Do you really think you're going to get any better there? I don't know. I don't think so. So why not? That's the question that I've posed. I said it yesterday and I'll say it today. If you're Julian Lewis, why not? Why not Indiana? Who cares about the past? That's in the past. That's previous coaches, previous players, previous administrations. They're not here. This is new. This is now. Why not come to Indiana? Why not come to a place where obviously the head coach wants you, and according to Tom Loy, has made you a top priority? Why would you not want to come and play for Coach Tino Sunseri, who you have a good relationship with, and come to a program that would appreciate you more than any of those other programs? Because Indiana doesn't have a player like that. They have not had a player like that in a long time. We would be over the moon about this guy, and he would make Indiana an instant competitor. I believe that. I said it yesterday, and I believe that. He would make us a competitor in the Big Ten right now, this season. But of course, he wouldn't be here until next year. But you can come and change the future of this program. With a new coach, you could be the guy that we look back on in 10 years and say, man, remember when Julian Lewis stepped in? Remember when he came in and changed things, right? And I know some people may look at this and say, hey, haven't we seen this before? Young athletic quarterback come in, light it up. Isn't he just going to leave and go somewhere else? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe if you continue to bring in talent around him, he'll hang around. He'll hang out and try to make Indiana a good football program. And I know everybody wants to talk about Michael Penix. I get it. But it was nice to have him here, right? It was cool to have him here. We just couldn't keep him here because of the people around him. That could be different. That could change. And it's starting to get serious now. It's starting to get serious. You need to understand there's a real possibility of Julian Lewis suiting up and playing for Indiana next season. For him to be on campus wearing our colors and playing football at Indiana for head coach Curt Cignetti. That is a possibility, and it has become real. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in. A 5-star Julian Lewis, a guy that the likes of USC and Auburn were going after, could end up playing here. And I believe that if you bring him, more will follow. You build it, they will come. And that's what happens with Julian Lewis. That's what can be the new normal with Curt Cignetti at Indiana football. I've been telling you, don't sleep on it. Don't overlook it. Don't count us out. And more people are starting to hop on that train. It's a possibility that top 50 overall player, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation for 2025, Julian Lewis, he's getting a lot of love, and he very well could be a future Indiana Hoosier. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. All my audio listeners, thank you there. All my video watchers on YouTube, I appreciate you as well. Like this video. Remember, comment down below. Do you think Trey Galloway is a starter this year? What happens if he does not get back to the Galloway that we know? And do you think Julian Lewis ends up at Indiana? Let me know in the YouTube comments down below. Be sure that you subscribe to our channel, okay? It's the free way to support the free show, all right? It's that easy. I help you, you help me, all right? We do that, and we'll be good to go. You'll become one of my everydayers. So thank you guys so much for that. We are back tomorrow, all right? So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.